call. I hope everybody had an opportunity to take a look at the document. We did get some revisions today that we'll go over when we get to those. With that, Celeste, I'll turn it over to you for roll call and quorum.
Thank you all for attending the Risk Modeling Advisory Work Group being held on August 23rd, 2023 at 1:30 p.m. I will now open this meeting with some information for the work group. The Risk Modeling Advisory Work Group will be following the open meeting requirements of Bagley-Keene. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand. Members of the public can comment on an agenda following member discussion, but we ask that you limit your time. For items not on the agenda, the public will have an opportunity to address the group, but you are asked to limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you are filling in for a committee member, please answer for the person you are filling in for and state your first and last name. I will now take roll call. Jim McDougall.
Here.
Carlos Camarena. Deborah Hobblestadt.
Esteban Mendoza on behalf of Deborah.
Neil Matuka. Paul Glushku. Max Mortiz.
I am here.
Nancy Watkins.
Here.
Dave Winokur. Robert Marshall.
Here.
Anthony Powers. Yana Valachovic.
Good afternoon.
Chris Ochoa.
I'm here.
Dory Beats.
Here.
Joe Irvin. And Carolyn Thomas Jacob.
You didn't call my name, Terry Woodrow.
Oh, sorry, Terry. It's because I marked you already. Terry Woodrow.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Quorum is 9 people, 50 plus 1 quorum is established. We will now move on to agenda review.
Okay, thanks, Celeste. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Chris Ochoa.
Robert Marshall, second.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda, aye, please.
Aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. The next item is approval of the past meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Robert Marshall, so moved.
Thank you, Robert. There's a
Chris
second?
Ochoa, second.
Chris, thank you. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the past meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the past minutes, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, old discussion. Celeste, if you would bring up the draft risk modeling document. Just for everybody, we spent quite a bit of time last week. Caroline Thomas Jacobson isn't on, but we have a section down there that's highlighted, working with her to get that piece added back in. It was actually accidentally deleted in the last meeting as we were going through things. So the piece in there from Caroline is added back in. And so we should be good there. Yana, thank you again. Her and I spent lots of time last week. I don't know, 3.5 hours going through looking for different items and just kind of cleaning things up. So I think hopefully we don't see a lot of comments there from folks. Hopefully we got some of those items cleaned up. So I think we'll just go through. There's only a few comments, and Celeste can start it on them or start where we have questions. Jan and I talked quite a bit about the conclusion. We'd like to have a discussion with the group around that. For those of you that reviewed it, you'll notice the conclusion is very similar to the executive summary and kind of what the group thinks about that, or some adjustments that could be made, or thoughts from everyone on that. So Celeste, I believe this is the first comment. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the first comment in the on the report.
Yeah, and so this is the one that we worked with Caroline Thomas Jacobson to add back in, related to identifying what they're doing with the electric utility companies and how they're using probabilistic models to identify and implement mitigations. And her thought, she reviewed this, did a little editing on it, put it back in. And so from her standpoint, this covers any concerns that she has. Is there any discussion around that? If you do, just please raise your hand. Okay, well, we will call that comment resolved and get rid of that one. Very good. Okay. Esteban, would you like to discuss this with the group? I know you sent Celeste an email, her and I discussed it, but if you want to share with the group what the final outcome here is about that recommendation from Deborah.
We can go with Dave Whitaker's comment of deleting that. It's a one sentence.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it was just in a comment. It wasn't added in the document, so we just won't add it in. So, okay. Thank you, Esteban.
Actually, the
Hold
comment,
on. I thought Dave Whitaker has said to delete that.
yeah, the sentence that was introducing footnote 23. I think the comment and the sentence are the same thing.
Oh, I thought we had not added it, but let's put it back in there, Celeste. Let's take another look to make sure for clarity.
Hold on one second here. Let's go back to this. The comment never got added back in. The comment never got added in. Hold on, let's find it. Just give me a second here. Here it is. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's on, let's go back to down here to the page.
It's like 35.
Yeah, let me just get down here. Okay, so this was the original one here. Deborah, if you don't remember, but Deborah, the last meeting, right at the very end, the last few minutes, said this was right here, in addition to regulations adopted by California Department of Insurance in October 22, require insurances who use wildfire risk in their rating plans to account for wildfire mitigation factors, which may result in premium credit to consumers who take specific mitigation measures included in the California Safer from Wildfires framework. And she said this was what the comms office was using from CDI, and that's what she wanted to update. And so we didn't really get to have a full discussion at the end of our last 8-8 meeting. So Dave Whitaker went ahead and made a comment saying about that we have been very deliberate about removing discussions of insurance rate setting and pricing from this report. This section should be removed for consistency.
So
Yeah,
it's in there, Celeste. We need to remove it. I thought we didn't add it, but apparently it got left in.
Okay.
Yeah, the original sentence is worded one way. She's reworded it in the comment, and I think Dave's comment means the whole sentence should go away.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Yeah.
And we're good with that, or do we need to have discussion before I delete anything?
So I think if Esteban agrees with that, I think we're good to go. So you can take it out, Celeste. Okay. Thanks for catching that, Nancy. I thought it wasn't changed. I thought it didn't get changed. So I appreciate that. All right.
Well, you can't accuse me of
Not reading?
the doc before. You can't accuse me of reading the doc before the meeting, but at least I'm paying attention during the meeting, so that's something.
Yeah, because I thought we did. We added it back. We added it in at the end of the other meeting, and I thought Celeste and I went back and took it out. But that's great. Thank you. Okay, further down. Too much.
Dave actually made another edit to that point. I mean, it's not highlighted in the doc, but on page 36, he texted me while I was in Hawaii on vacation last week, and it's the CAS study reference. We got rid of a similar reference that I had put in there about mitigation credits. So it just so people understand that we're trying to be consistent across the board.
Absolutely. Celeste, where isn't that? Where's the section that? I'll go down and find them here.
It's right where she just was. The third bullet says another study published by the CAS. It's that one, but bottom of page 36. Yeah. It's been rephrased to talk about reduction, but it doesn't talk about premiums or pricing.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, Celeste, can you though go back up? I thought there was I think it was up there where we were related to the email that Esteban sent you, the added bullet points.
Yes, Esteban, would you like to discuss your edits here or recommendation of edits? We haven't put them in yet.
Yes. So just some very brief clarifications upon conferring with the NAIC, as they are a separate organization and we cannot speak for them. So it's just on the first bullet point, it should just add in 2022, their Center of Excellence was established in 2022, and they wanted that clarification. So it should read, establish the Catastrophe Modeling Center of Excellence, COE, in 2022.
I don't think you're on the right page there, Celeste.
So it should be 33-ish, 34.
There you
There.
go.
Right after the parentheses of COE in 2022. And then in the last bullet point there, where it says published, so it should read, published a catastrophe computer modeling handbook in 2011 to provide recommendations for regulators. And the explanation is the NAIC as an entity does not regulate state insurance markets, only its individual members regulate within their jurisdiction. So the NAIC only provides recommendations for regulators. So it's not, delete regulatory guidance and place recommendations for regulators.
Is everybody good with that change? I know, Nancy, we talked a lot about this one last time.
Yeah, I
Specifically.
thought we'd already talked about this last time.
We did. There's just a couple word changes there.
Yeah, no, they both sound good to me.
And there is one last at the very end where the new sentence was added about the handbook being updated. They just want to update at the very end. It should read in an update of this handbook, and the additional language is to provide a high level overview of catastrophe modeling and how these tools are used by insurers to assess and manage their catastrophe risk. I'll copy that into the chat.
Okay.
No concerns from me.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody else? We'll let Celeste put it in there, but yeah. Good to have it accurate. Thank you, Esteban. Very good.
Yeah, I was gonna say put a period after it.
Yeah, she got it there, I think. All right. Okay, I believe that's all of the comments that we had in the document this time, correct? So let's accept the discussion around the conclusion.
Yes, that's correct. I don't see any additional comments other than the conclusion discussion.
Okay, there was one up there before, and I think it got pulled in that Dave Winokur made to a comment that Yana and I had up near the top, but it might have got just pulled in.
Oh, I think I resolved that one earlier today, but let me just make sure because those are my notes. My notes. Oh, here it is. Dave updated it.
Yeah. Yana, this is the one you and I talked quite a bit about last week, where we were kind of both a little confused. Does that make it clear for you that when with Dave's edits? I think that's what you and I thought it meant. Lose Yana?
All right, I was on mute. Still seems a little bit shorthand. I would say maybe add a throughout California or something, just to try and make it a full sentence.
Right. Robert,
I
what
would,
do you, Robert, or yeah.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Nancy.
Dave, sorry, I'm not raising my hand. I'm going just cheating. I think Dave's bullet actually says the need for suppression resources to complement passive mitigations. So maybe instead of throughout California, then maybe to complement, although I think it may be a complement with an E versus with an I, passive mitigations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throughout California to complement passive mitigations. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm not even sure.
I agree that that's
Californians.
what is meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we really feel like we have to say just throughout California? Because
No, I don't think that's too big a deal, but we're just trying to come up with a good ending.
yeah,
that-
Yana thought we were being too terse and lazy.
Well, we tried to clean up a lot of bullets and make them a little more full sentences last week, just to make it easier for folks to read. So we did spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
So Celeste, I think copy the end of that out.
So instead of capabilities, it starts at resources to complement passive mitigations.
No. You just want to copy capabilities copy for suppression resources to complement passive mitigations and put it on the end of that bullet to make a full complete sentence. We'll see if it does when we put it in there.
All right.
Improve comprehensive fire protection and suppression
Capabilities.
I think just strike the resources, suppression resources.
Yeah. To complement that. Yep. Is that what you're trying to get, Nancy?
Yes. I just deleted an S up above that had subject verb disagreement.
Robert, does that work?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now we have a complete sentence there. Okay. So you want to add, if we can go down to the bottom, Celeste, at the conclusion. So,
Maybe
after
as
we, go ahead.
can I just make it as an intro?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of information that's now in the executive summary with some pretty good comprehensive detail. Has everyone had a chance to read the executive summary? I get it, totally. So the executive summary is attempting to basically hit all the high points and the main asks or assessment of our effort. So with that intro, then Jim, why don't you take it to the conclusions?
Okay, so when we get to the conclusion, we've done a lot of copy pasting. If you read through it, it's pretty much exactly the same without a lot of the cleanup. I don't think we did clean it up, right? We just left it, Yana. So we left it. So we're not sure we need to repeat the executive summary in the conclusion because you're going to read that first, right? So wanted to bring up to the group, do we have, there's a pretty dang good paragraph sitting there right now, the beginning of it. We could just keep that paragraph, or we could do some, add another paragraph or two for a really strong conclusion, and then, get rid of all the bullet points below because they are up in the executive summary. So we just wanted to bring that up to the group and get thoughts about a good way to do the conclusion here.
I'll start it off. I was the person that repeated the conclusion, and I am okay with deleting it and just leaving the first paragraph. So I don't feel the need to defend putting it in there twice.
Okay.
And there's a lot of it that's fleshed out in each of the more detailed sections, 8.3, 8.4, that support basically the outline that is in the executive summary.
Anybody else?
Are we looking at the yellow paragraph going away on page 50 or staying?
We're going to leave the yellow where it says conclusion that Celeste is showing on 48 and 49. Leave that. Celeste, can you go down to 50? Is there a paragraph down there?
It was more the beginning. It's kind of an unfinished thought. And I think the first question was if we got rid of the sort of skeleton bulleted outline, does it stand alone sufficiently just with a paragraph above? We just kept this here just to sit here for a minute so we could all look at something else just in case we wanted to add some more to the one paragraph that sits below conclusions.
Right. So I think we agree, take the bullets out, right, Nancy? And then we can look at paragraphs to make it strong.
Yeah, so we're going to delete that, and then we're going to put those two paragraphs together and see if we need the second one.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I proposed. And I guess first, does anyone have any heartburn over that? Nancy's good with
exactly. All right, well, here and none, we're going to start editing, and we'll have 2 paragraphs left.
Do you want me to delete this one as well? The components of adaptive approach? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we're at.
I think the second paragraph duplicates the consistent data on mitigation and feed it back.
Can you move it up to 48 a little bit, Celeste, so we can see the first couple sentence or so on 48?
What was that, Jim? I'm sorry.
Move the document up a little bit. There we go. So the conclusion. Yeah, there. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's pretty well covered up above too, don't you, Nancy?
I agree.
Yeah, I think there's some good words in the second paragraph, but they are very redundant with the first paragraph. So I think you just need to pick.
I think it goes away.
Yeah. If we want to make something more clear in the first paragraph to make it if we miss something there, Nancy, to move it, up a
You
little
know,
bit, we can.
it's there's only like 1% of people who are going to get this far anyway, and the way that it was written in the executive summary was good. So I think just deleting the second paragraph is fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Conversation? Okay.
I do want to go down to the glossary because I just saw something funky.
Okay. Absolutely.
Can I just highlight one thing just to make sure everybody's good with this? So Dave and I went back and forth about what we're really trying to say. And so we came up with this final sentence. Combining elements in the above recommendations, the work group suggests that the next level of engagement takes blah, 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 blah. So we didn't say who's going to do that. We didn't identify a work group or any other multi-jurisdictional or anything. We just basically tried to conclude with these are the key elements, and whoever takes this on should be grabbing from these key elements. Does that settle well with everyone and feel like it reflects as far as we've gotten in our conversation?
Hearing no discussion means we're good, or people have thoughts?
Good.
Yep, good.
All right. Thank you all. Nancy, where would you like us to go there in the glossary?
I think abbreviating catastrophe is not what we do.
Oh, geez.
I think there was a time when we were calling it CAP models, and then we stopped doing that. And so I don't know if we ever used the term CAP model anymore. If we did, like we used risk models and CAP model. I think we got rid of the whole terminology of CAP model. So I think we should just delete that entry.
Okay. And we added this a bunch up above, but I know we spelled them out the other day, Jan and I, but do we want to add like IBHS and NIST down here?
Oh, that's
Probably a good idea, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
IBHS, Celeste.
IB.
Ida Bravo, Henry, Sam.
Sam. Okay. And then NIST, is that NIST?
Exactly. Yeah. And we can get them in the right places so they stay alphabetical, but yeah, let's just put them in there. Okay. Anything else, John? I don't know that we hadn't added any the other day that weren't on there. Those two popped in my head.
I don't think so, but I think this document, if people generally are good with it, is ready for a really tight edit on it. And we should look for these kind of orphaned acronyms.
Yeah, orphans, that's right. Orphaned acronyms. Exactly.
FEMA, might want to put FEMA in there.
Yep. Okay. We'll make sure it's in the document. I think you're right, it is, but we'll look for them. Okay. Well, folks, that's all the comments we have. And so for next, we did mess around with this a little bit, and I know Nancy, we talked about it last time. We put the FEMA back in there, but I think is this where we did it, Jana? Didn't we add a little more? Or this was the direct FEMA one?
I think on page 11 there was a definition, our original definition, and
we fixed it up there.
It's a shorter version. FEMA defines mitigations as activities that reduce the loss of life and property by lessening the impacts of disasters.
Right. We shortened it up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. So.
And the whole one's down here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm good with that. I like this better than the definition that we had, or the one that it replaced.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, This was a challenging one for Jan and I. There's not, we looked at different places to find a definition of structure hardening, kind of had to pull things together to come up with it. So we really want the group to take a look at that. We realized it wasn't in there and you know, we went through the NIST documents and IBHS documents. But is there any thoughts about this definition for structure hardening?
Do we use it as structure hardening? I usually hear it as structural hardening.
I think we use both.
Yeah,
So
the
these are things that
document,
need to be read for. I think we mostly use structure hardening.
but we can definitely check it when we get down to the fine detail edits here.
All right, let me look. I'm going to look in the building code really quick because it might actually have a definition there.
Oh, good. Yeah. I actually didn't look at that document. I don't remember it being in there, but that doesn't mean it's not. Haven't seen and read the new code.
Yeah, let's see if I can get to the right document here. All right, it's not in that code, and see if it's in this one. All right, no, it's not in either
Okay.
either code. Oh, let me check one other thing. Hold on.
Yeah, it seems we all use the word thinking we know what it means, but we couldn't find a real definition, like published somewhere else. At least clearly published.
Yeah, so it's not in any of the codes, but another thought occurred to me, which is that the common term in our side of the world when we're educating people is actually home hardening.
It is.
So that might be, let me see if I can find a definition for home hardening. There's not one in the code.
I think this
But-
publication is written more broadly than just home. And so I think structure would be the appropriate term.
Yeah,
here.
no, I agree with that, but I think that the definition would be similar because it's doing the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is going to be kind of funny and embarrassing. The definition of home hardening is defined by CAL FIRE on their webpage.
I think I'd have known that, right?
Right?
I probably
Actually, I've
wrote-
never even seen this page before, so don't feel too bad. It basically says home hardening is the term used to describe vegetation management compliance and building materials used to resist the intrusion of flames or embers projected by a wildland fire.
Let's see now.
pretty much says the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I was just realizing it said it down there.
Yeah.
This really implies retrofitting though, the way I'm looking at it, as opposed to,
Right.
so it does define it later that new construction.
Because that is home hardening, because we hardened to chapter 7A. So I think it's good to have that at the bottom of it. There is above and beyonds, but. Okay.
And actually too, I think that was Yana. I think you were talking about that just now. It probably should say construction of or modifications to the exterior of a building, because
yeah.
7A does not apply in retrofit applications. It only applies to new construction.
Yep. Good point.
Well, unless it's a major remodel.
Right.
Even
well,
so, so California law does not allow the retrofit of 7A. That's actually a really big piece of 7A, is that it doesn't allow for the retrofit of an existing structure to comply with 7A. The new portions of the structure can, but it's actually very explicit that 7A doesn't apply to remodels.
And every jurisdiction has what they consider a different percent, right? Been down that road.
Yeah.
Is it 50? Is it one wall? Is it 25, 10?
Yeah, I'm in the 50% crowd myself.
There you go. I like that. Yeah.
Just a side
think
note,
it's-
my board of directors actually thought 50% was too high. They wanted me to move it down to 25.
Wow. I think, Yana, after the of, we need another the, don't we? I think it doesn't quite read construction or the modifications of exterior of the, I think it's of the exterior of a building. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion around the definition of structure hardening? Anybody else? All
I
right,
feel
thanks.
like I actually helped now. Cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really good, actually. Yeah, I think good job. Excellent. Needed, that's why the comments there. We need to work on it. The next piece down on zone 0, Yana added in a comment too. Do we want to include that first 6 inches of vertical space from the ground up as part of zone 0?
I personally say no. And the only reason I say no is because there's still a lot of debate as to what zone 0 is actually going to include. And I think leaving this generic in this report would be better so that it doesn't conflict with whatever the regulations actually settle on in the future.
Yeah, since they canceled the Board of Forestry meeting, I don't have a clue where they're going now, or at least that topic in the Board of Forestry meeting this week.
Yeah, well, and it's more, and that might be kind of part of it too, is it's not just Board of Forestry, it's at the international level, it's at the NFPA level. There's a bunch of different people who are describing this. So I think it's just too up in the air at this minute to really settle on something for this report.
This has not been a controversial item in the Board of Forestry Zone 0 debate. The 6 inches
Okay.
is in there in that version. It's not been flagged by anyone as a controversy.
Yeah, but I think that particularly when we're looking at the code implications for it, I think it could wind up being confusing for us, because and it's not to say that it's controversial, but there are people, IBHS among them, who have said that maybe that's not enough. Maybe it needs to go beyond that. Maybe it, so I mean, that's just my thoughts on it. If we include it, it probably isn't a huge deal, but I don't know that it's actually settled.
And we're not being specific about any other things like a tree within 5 feet either. So maybe, maybe kind of keeping it generic is,
Sure.
because it still says within the first 5 weeks. So anybody else have thoughts around that? Okay. Yanni, you good with leaving how it is?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
I would leave that other note about the structure versus structural, just to however we edit it, just to make sure we read it consistently.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, any questions from the group or places in the group after your review, if you didn't get a chance to add comment that you would like to discuss within the document?
On page 52, there's an orphaned reference. To this one, California Board of Forestry and Fire Protection. Anyone know what that goes to?
You know, Nancy, I don't. Maybe we put a comment out
Definition of
there.
Structural
just-
hardening.
Yeah. Celeste, why don't we add a comment so when we do final review, if we find it, then we can, or if we can't, we'll just take it out of there.
Is it a footnote?
Or whatever it is.
I mean,
Yeah.
what, how's it, I mean,
It's
is
just
that
hanging.
one?
Yeah, I don't know where the one is. That's what I say without going back through and maybe getting it where it belongs, right? Or
It may be one of, we've had a bunch of those weird inserted, those funny inserts that we were looking at, Jim, that were awkward. So
right.
let's just highlight it like I just did there, and then our
Okay.
final editor can look for those.
Absolutely.
It's pretty random.
Yeah.
Oh, it's about CEQA? No,
It's about an EIR. Well, it's about that's what's weird. So it's tied to the VT, what we call the VTP, which is a environmental impact report for doing fuels reduction and prescribed fire. So it's kind of a weird thing to be hanging out in here. We're not
Mhm.
sure where it came from.
okay.
It's kind of weird. So, but we can definitely make sure it's not referenced somewhere. And I don't remember the VTP being mentioned anywhere else, but yeah, it's very specific to something for sure.
Yeah, Chris, Ochoa, and Nick, I mean, do you think that maybe this had to do with something that you guys commented on? Just in case you're not focused on this point, I don't want it to disappear.
Nancy, this is Nick. I'm just looking at it as you were saying it, and I am not sure where it came from. I don't think it came from us. However, it's a programmatic EIR, which is something that is typically used to tier off of for subsequent EIRs and environmental documents. I can take a look at it, but just if you ask me right now, it's not something that came from us, and I'm not sure what it's doing in there.
Yeah, just especially in the helpful resources is one thing, and then a lot of the things that we put in there originally, and this is something that should probably be updated, is we tried to stick any report that had been referenced at least once or twice back in the back, so people wouldn't have to go flipping through 50 pages of footnotes. And there's been so many changes to the doc that it's possible that someone footnoted that particular page and wanted it in the footnotes.
Chris Ramey just said the end of page 48 references the VTP. I also see that someone has their hand up too.
Yeah, Esteban?
No, finish this point.
Okay. Let's go look at 48 and see what's there.
There's also something odd on page 20.
Okay. Get this one. Oh, it probably should be a footnote there. Okay. Thanks, Shauna, for adding that.
Yeah, that seems like a good place to put that footnote.
Yep. Okay, Esteban, I think we got that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if people want to look at page 44, the second to last paragraph, it starts, the second sentence starts with, however, the public is not broadly aware of the mitigations that matter. And that's the first time that kind of comes into play. I think it's just a little bit nebulous. I know like the IBHS has a home mitigations that matter, and I don't know if that's supposed to be in reference to that. But there's just a lot of talk about the confusion over mitigations that matter in parentheses, but there's no tying us to, is that a generic, mitigations that matter in parentheses, or whether that's referencing IBHS's home hardening. That's all.
Hey, Yana?
Yeah, a great question. There's a whole section on mitigations that matter earlier in the document.
Right, but I guess I just want to make sure that that's not in reference, just because of, that's not in reference to, that's more of a generic as opposed to the IBHS program.
Right, it's the mitigations that matter section in the document is what it's referencing back to.
Maybe you could just reference back to section 3, as previously discussed in section 3. It's our terminology, the work group's terminology.
Right. There we go.
Would that take care of the concern?
Yeah, I just thought it needed to be like a tie back to what we were discussing. Otherwise, it almost felt like it was in reference to the 3 or 4 entities mentioned in the previous sentence.
Yeah, that's a good clarification.
Nick, I see your hands up.
Yeah, thanks. Just going back to that reference to the EIR, I do think that given the paragraph on page 48, environmental considerations, having that reference to the EIR is helpful because it can be a source document for people to tear off of.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll add it back up in that section when we do the final edits.
And then put it back in the useful docs thing at the end also?
Yeah, we'll have it in 2 places. We'll go through and make sure that we try to find all those useful docs that were identified, because you're right, it's been moved around so much and edited. We'll try to get it consistent again. It's a good point. So. Okay, anybody else?
So what is the feeling on helpful resources?
Oh, there's a lot of echo.
Are helpful resources just helpful resources? Or is there something?
I think the idea was that if they're really like papers, I don't think that this has to be a list of every single paper that gets referenced in the entire doc. Like, you don't necessarily want to reproduce like 100 footnotes in the resources, but if they're like the IBHS mitigation resource is a helpful one. I think this is a judgment call. I don't feel like it needs to be more than 20 docs.
But just a place somebody could go to find all those major documents is what you're talking about.
Right. Like it's totally a judgment call. It could be deleted. It's just one of those things where for people who are interested in the topic, if you try to corral a bunch of good resources in one place, it tends to save them some time.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Max. I had one last. I noticed something at the top of page 20. If you scroll up. You see that 1 and 2 there?
Oh yeah, we thought we got
it
rid
made
of
me
most
wonder
of those.
that
Max,
those
yeah.
kind of got added as endnotes.
Oh yeah, we thought we got rid of them.
Okay. Anyway, I don't, either those should have, those should be footnotes, I guess, or just deleted. I don't know what they were supposed to be.
I think they got left over, so we've been trying to clean those out of there.
That wouldn't be the Cal VTP one. It wouldn't make sense, but.
No, some of it's from where edits were made and paragraphs were taken out and the little numbers didn't go away with it. So we'll just go back and clean it all up. But thanks for catching. We tried to get all them out of there. We didn't find them all. We just whack those, but we'll get them. Okay. Anybody else?
There's another weird one. Look at this. The next paragraph I just highlighted in yellow.
They might, yeah, it has a reference and nothing there. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of little things like that to catch folks that will get people to go through the document and try to find all those. So, and a lot of edits. So, all right. Anybody else have anything they want to talk about specifically on this until we before we run it through a final strong edit? Okay, Nancy.
I think the big picture figure might need to be updated with some of the bullets that we added. So we can, Celeste, I can give her a copy of the PowerPoint and she can just do an update if she wants.
Okay. That specific slide. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. All right. Very good. Thank you. Okay. So for the group, some thoughts we had. Okay, we're always looking for any help we can, but we've identified a couple of folks within our program to read through this that have never seen this document before. And then, really look for things that don't make sense, places that got cut off. Jan and I, like I said, spent many hours going through it. We think we got most of them, but no guarantees there. And so we can have some folks run through this document and look for those edits. Does anybody have any other thoughts about how to get this in a place for a final review of this group? Very, very thorough review of this group to make sure we got everything cleaned up.
So Jim, if I remember your process, you're ready to send this to, again, still to some internal people that haven't read it and give it a good overall edit, and we'll fix the fonts and the paragraph spacing and all the other little oddities and formatting. And then it would come back to us for one last approval of that. And then it would go to the Wildfire Mitigation Committee for their review.
Correct.
And does it go to anyone else after that?
Know what we would do after the Mitigation Advisory Committee. If there's something wild that this group needs to address, we'll have a meeting to discuss that. We might have a discussion anyway, just to make sure, and then it'd be considered completed. So we kind of had it set up for approvals. The final vote in agreement of this group would be after the WMAC got a chance to look at it. But
And
hopefully, go ahead.
That's September 19th.
Yes, if it's possible to get it there, depending on how long it takes to get through it. We have a meeting, what's left, on the 29th. So we'd like to be able to get some folks to read through it, try to make the final edits, and get it all to you to review in time before our next meeting. And then we would be able to quite possibly get it on the WMAC meeting in September. If everything goes right.
So I'm sorry, I lost track. WMAC meets in September. Then after they are have had a chance to review and give feedback, then we do a final vote.
We may need to, yes. If nothing changed, yeah, we'll do a final vote just to say everybody's good and agrees, consensus, and move it back out. Yeah. And if, this group can approve it, if everything's good after our next edits, if we make some minor things here and there and the group wants to approve it at the next meeting, at least from our levels, so the WMAC can see it, we can do that as well. I think and it's been so long since I've looked at that, we've got threw it out the window, unfortunately, but Celeste, I think you have it. Were we gonna vote on it before it went to the WMAC? You remember?
Yes, we originally were going to vote that it was good to go to the WMAC, and then the WMAC would then provide us feedback, and we would do another round of edits, essentially, if there are some, and then we would meet one more time after the WMAC edits, if any. If none are needed, then we originally were going to go ahead and vote once it came back to the WMAC to accept it and to essentially move it on to where it needs to go after that.
Thanks, Celeste. And I think Chief Bigelow posted in there, we'd have to have it for the meeting announcements and things that go out on September 8th for that group. They have a 10-day notice, so.
And our most faithful audience, MJ Lee, volunteered to be a reviewer.
Okay.
Don't want you to miss that comment.
I thank you. I did not see that yet. Had not checked chat.
So can we vote next week to send it to the?
Yes. Yeah, on the 29th, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Or about the process or where we're going next? Okay. All right. So no other discussion on the old business item. Is there any roundtable for the group? Checking the chat here. People. Right. Public comment. Now's the time for public comment. If anybody on would like to do so, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. And MJ, thanks for putting that in the chat. We hadn't discussed having that, but we may, so thank you very much. Okay, seeing no public comment. The next meeting is August 29th. Like I said, we'll try to get some folks to read this and get it pushed back out to you Friday or Monday at the latest. With that,
seems a little ambitious, Jim.
what's that?
It seems a little ambitious, but
I know it does, but we can try.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. We'll do the best we can. I would definitely like to get it up to them, but I also want to make sure it's a very clean document we've worked so hard on that it doesn't have any glaring things. And Yana, maybe you and I can talk about that option you have to look at it too. We can try to do a couple things with it to get it cleaned up. So Yana, I don't know if you want to tell the group what you have the capability to do.
I mean, I think
talked about.
it'd be good to actually pull it out of the Google Doc and where we can control formatting a little better and clean it all up and start to format it a little bit and also, very closely do some type editing on it.
Yeah, we'll get it pulled out. It's lived in Google Docs for a long time, so. Okay. All right, anybody else? It's the shortest meeting we've had in a long time, but thanks everybody for the hard work to get it where it is. I think we're getting to a very, very good place. The whole group coming to consensus. MJ, sorry, I see your hands up. I don't know, Celeste, you have to unmute.
Oh, okay. I just want to point out your agenda for the 29th says the meeting's from 1:30 to 3:30. And I think your slide said 11.
I will have that updated and fixed. I
So-
did a lot of these.
Okay, so it is 11 then.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
let me just confirm. Yes, it's 11 o'clock. I will make sure that that gets updated on the website and a new document gets pushed out.
Thank you, MJ. Appreciate it. All right. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Robert.
Robert, thank you.
Second.
Second, okay. We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? All right. With that, all those in favor of adjournment, aye?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, seeing none, motion passed unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time and enjoy the rest of your day.